Hello all, and welcome back to Behind the Scenes with your favorite narrator, me. I want to take a moment and thank those who turned in episode 1 on James Alexander Devlin, and for those of you who haven't had the opportunity to, I highly recommend it after this episode. Today is going to be a little bit somber of an episode, as it's about a man who changed baseball for the better, but lost his life doing it. On today's episode, we're going far back in time, once again, before the 1900s, to the date of January 15th, 1891, to a place called Beaver Dam, Kentucky, the hometown of one Raymond Chapman. Ray Chapman was an American baseball player who had spent all of his career as a shortstop for the Cleveland Indians, or, as they're called now, the Cleveland Guardians. He broke into the league around 1912, and from what's been said, he was a very solid baseball player. Chapman led the American League in runs scored and walks in 1918. Known for being great at placing bunts, a type of sacrifice hit, he is 6th on the all-time list and holds the single-season record with 67 in 1917. He batted over 300 3 times and led the Indians in stolen bases 4 times. In 1917, he set another record, this time a team record with 52 stolen bases in a year, which stood until 1980 when it was broken by Miguel Dillon, an outfielder. In 1920, Chapman's final year, he was hitting over 300 again and closing in on over 100 runs scored, and was looking like he was having another great year for Cleveland. There had been some unconfirmed whispers behind the scenes that Chapman had been debating retirement after the 1920 season. He had married a woman by the name of Kathleen Daly, the daughter of a prominent Cleveland businessman. It's been mentioned that Chapman had interest in leaving baseball, joining the family business, and also starting a family of his own. Sounds like a solid plan for after baseball and a great way to live out the rest of his days, right? Unfortunately, with these stories, there seems to be a lack of happy endings for our protagonist. On August 16th of 1920, the Cleveland Indians were at the Polo Grounds for a game against the New York Yankees. Before we go any further, I would like to reiterate that this was during the dead ball era of baseball. The dead ball era was a time where the pitchers controlled the game pretty much. They had the freedom to purposely dirty the baseball, scuff it, spike it, and even sandpaper it. This led to the ball becoming misshapen, earth-colored, traveling erratically, and as it came over the plate became very difficult to see for most batters. With this information, you can probably take a good guess at where this story seems to be headed. Pitching for the Yankees was a man by the name of Carl Mays, who was known to have a submarine pitching delivery, which means the release of the pitch is near the ground and has more of a sidearm delivery, but it is not an underhanded throw like you see in softball. He was a pitcher known for throwing the spitball, which is when you cover the ball in spit. Pretty straightforward. On this day, the Yankees were trailing the Indians when Chapman came up to the plate in the 5th inning. Chapman, known to crowd the plate like a lot of hitters back in the day, was doing it again, angering the pitcher Mays. Mays' next pitch was a high fastball that he claims was in the strike zone. Unfortunately, Chapman never moved. The impact of the ball striking Chapman in the head was so loud, Mays thought that it had hit Chapman's bat and proceeded to field the ball and throw it to first. Surprisingly, Chapman got up and tried to take his base, but fell multiple times and was now unable to get up again. Home plate umpire Tommy Connolly, who noticed blood spilling from Chapman's ear, screamed for a doctor. Indians and Yankees players rushed over to Chapman to check on him, aside from Carl Mays, who said never left the pitching mound. As he was rushed off the field, it's been said that Chapman mumbled, "I'm alright. Tell Mays not to worry. Ring. Katie's ring," before falling unconscious. Chapman was taken to St. Lawrence Hospital, a short trip from the polo grounds, where it was found he suffered a depressed skull fracture. He went into emergency surgery to help relieve the swelling in his brain. Unfortunately, it would not be enough, as Chapman would pass away at 4:40 in the morning the next day. His pregnant wife Katie was summoned by phone and showed up at the hospital at 10 a.m. Learning of her husband's passing, she fainted in the hospital. He left behind a wife and a child. Chapman was buried at Lakeview Cemetery in Cleveland. Carl Mays, the pitcher on that very somber day, did an interview months later where he regretted the outcome of the pitch, but stated he did not feel guilt for the fact that he did not do it on purpose. Baseball's first and still only fatality led to major changes in the league and pretty much baseball everywhere. The spitball was banned almost immediately due to sanitary concerns, and pitchers were no longer allowed to scuff and dirty the ball. When it was dirty, it was immediately replaced. The game changed suddenly, taking the advantage from the pitcher and giving it to the batter. Though the change wouldn't happen for the next 30 years, Chapman's death led to baseball adopting batting helmets to avoid such things happening again. It truly sucks that in order for baseball to change for the better, a man had to lose his life. Let us never forget how far baseball has come and how we've gotten here. There's a long list of stories ready to be dug up and told, and I'm officially taking on the role of doing just that. This has been episode 2 of Behind the Seams, the story of Ray Chapman. Thank you very much for tuning in. Once again, I am Jay, and I will see you in the next story. Cheers.